Welcome to Mindful Talk, brief conversations about mindfulness in the workplace and at home. I am your host, Lauren Wessinger.
And I'm your host, Misti Anderson. And this podcast is brought to you by the Mindful Project.
Welcome back.
Thanks for being here. I'm really excited.
The Mindful Project helps you elevate the culture of your business by bringing mindfulness practice to you and your staff through in-person and virtual learning. Contact us through our website, themindfulproject.co.
When we have
for more
topics that we
information.
talk about, sometimes if we're not in the present moment of that going on in our life, like neither of us are pregnant, I was reflecting over the last day or two over just my pregnancies and being pregnant and what a crazy time it is. And so if you're listening, just know you don't necessarily, in my opinion, have to be pregnant to listen to this. I feel like being a supporter of someone who is trying to get pregnant or pregnant is as big of a role in the mindfulness journey as being pregnant. Because when you feel like you have support, at least this is me, when I feel like I have support, I feel like therefore my mindfulness practice is a lot stronger. So I think it's a good topic to have because I know sometimes when you're pregnant, you can feel all alone. Did you ever feel like that?
I think so. It's been a long time for me. I mean, I had my, my kids are 12 and 16. It was a different era for me completely. When I got pregnant with my first, I was the first one of our friend group for sure. And it was weird, and they were so great, but I was by many, many years, the first one to get pregnant. And then with my daughter, I got pregnant right when we moved to Texas. And so through both of my pregnancies, I was in major life change situations. And they were just really hard times. I did not enjoy being pregnant. It was physically hard, emotionally hard. I'm always so in awe of the women who are like, oh, I loved being pregnant. I'm like, gosh, I wish I could say that.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said it. I had a lot of struggles with pregnancy, during pregnancy. Like with Ella, I had a hernia, an inguinal hernia down like right by my pubic bone. And so as she grew and she would kick, she would push on it and it would just pop out and it felt like knives in my stomach. Then I developed pregnancy carpal tunnels, which, your hands go numb and your arms ache and hurt. And everyone told me that it would go away after, and it actually didn't. And I had to have surgery on both my wrists when my baby was 4 weeks old. So I had a lot of like those kinds of physical challenges, but I was so happy to be pregnant that it literally helped keep me a little grounded and enjoy the process as much as I could, because I did spend a lot of time. We lived in California. I was alone. It was just me and Barrett, and he was actually going through his staff sergeant training. So he was gone for like 12 weeks. So I was by myself, and then I went into early labor and got put on bed rest. So I was by myself on bed rest. I couldn't feel my hands and I had a hernia, and I was like still cheerful. And I think about it now and I'm like, how did I make it through that? And honestly, that is, and I say this a lot, but that's the power of positivity and the power of gratitude. I didn't know that those were the practices that I was practicing, but that is what got me through that, because I was so very grateful to get pregnant. I had been told in years past that I never would have babies. And so to just have that, I just felt like I was really protecting her. And then when I got pregnant with my second, I was quite a bit older, and, your risks go up and you're tired a lot more than ever. And I found in that pregnancy, I was juggling a toddler and being pregnant. And so I felt like I rushed that pregnancy. And hindsight, I feel like I really missed it. And so I think that one thing I want to make clear is, number one, like what she said, not all women like pregnancy. It's not for everybody. And some people's ovens just don't work as good. My oven wasn't that great. And then secondly, that even if you have a strong mindfulness practice, And just like Lauren said, we are in very different places, but I was kind of evolving into mine at that time with my second daughter. Even if you don't have even if you have a great mindfulness practice, pregnancy will push you to that edge, to where you feel like even gratitude is hard. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm. For
Like
sure.
it's really hard to dig sometimes, especially like towards the end when you're just like a big whale and you feel like it's hot and you just want everything to be over. It's really hard to be like, you know what? I'm grateful that I was able to carry this baby to term. I'm grateful that my body is holding up for this pregnancy. Sometimes you just have to like wham wham, I feel like. And that's where my support came in. They were my people that I can't do this. I don't want to do this. And then they're like, yes, you can. Remember, you're so grateful, and okay, you're right. And you kind of have to dig yourself out of that. I don't think that life is any different with mindfulness. I just think that pregnancy pushes you to a whole other level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The few things I remember other than what I was personally going through during those times is my yoga practice. I practiced yoga all the time during both pregnancies. And it was the one thing that helped me get through a lot during those times. And I was practicing a little bit of meditation at the time, but definitely more yoga. And because my lifestyle changed overnight, I mean, I was pregnant in my 20s the first time, and we were still in, very much like socializing, partying, and like overnight, all of that changed for me. And so I was waking up early on the weekends and going to yoga after work, many days a week. And it's one of the main things I remember about that time that kept me grounded, because all of that emotion lives in your body. It doesn't just go away, and emotion is not just talking through stuff. It's like moving it out of your body. And
Yeah.
I think it's what kept me going. And then labor and delivery was, still delivering a baby, but recovery and delivery and all of that was not terrible, I think, because of my yoga practice.
Yeah. Well, yoga was on my notes at the top of things to make sure and talk about. And I say this with two different lenses. When I went through my pregnancy with Ella, I lived in California, right? Everyone's like, do yoga, breastfeed your baby, do yoga. And I didn't know how to practice yoga. I was very intimidated to learn something new in the middle of my body doing all this new weird stuff. And so I tried out some videos like online, and I just didn't enjoy it. And I kind of pushed that in the bucket of yoga and pregnancy aren't for me. And then when I was pregnant with Valerie, I was much more willing to just try anything to make everything better and to also have some time for myself because I had a toddler at the time. So I started doing yoga, prenatal yoga at a studio, and holy cow, I feel like, so I had that, when your ligaments are all like stretchy and sore and stuff. I had that really, really bad. What is that called? I forgot.
I had it too. It's actually the ligament that holds the placenta in place that attaches to the body. It's so painful, like right in your groin.
Oh my
I
gosh.
forget what
Oh
it's
my
called.
gosh.
Yeah.
So
It's
my
so
doctor
painful.
used to call it fire crotch.
Yeah.
It would like feel like a sharp.
Yeah. I had
And
it.
the only thing that kept that at bay was yoga. And my recovery, even though I was older post Valerie, was better, and it was yoga. And so I know that it can be really challenging. So I say that because I think of myself when I was pregnant the first time and how overwhelming it can be when someone's telling you, especially a doctor, practice yoga, that'll help you stretch it out. And you're like, oh, everyone tells me that, but I don't know what to do. I just would encourage you to get on Google and search for some prenatal specific instructors like Lauren, who are very apt to helping women in that stage of your life, because done correctly, man, can it impact your pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not just your body. You're going to get the meditation piece while you're there. You're going to start paying more attention to your breathing. And I mean, we all know that like, like that started with, Lamaze, but it's really the breathing that we do as yogis. So I feel like that helped me in my delivery, was learning that through yoga the second time. And I also feel like I started learning, and I think you'll agree to this, I started learning how to just simply notice things without jumping into 9 million things, because it's really easy when pregnancy things happen, like this aches and you wake up and this hurts, and it's easy to be like, oh my gosh, I'm miscarrying, oh my gosh, something's wrong with the baby. Like you jump to the far corners. Noticing. So when I would wake up in the morning and I would hear my teacher's voice say, just notice how you feel, just notice, like, is your hernia hurting today? Are your wrists tingling? There's no judgment. There's no like, oh, I hate this. It's just simply, okay, we've got tingly hands today, and she is kicking the heck out of my hernia. We're going to move forward. And I think the noticing and the slowing down to notice was such a big part of my mindfulness practice through pregnancy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
there's so much worry and anxiety of what could go wrong. And kind of circling back to your question about feeling alone, prenatal yoga, if there's a class in your area, becomes part of your community. One of my favorite things was prenatal yoga at the studio that I went to. And I didn't have to worry about, can I do this? Can I not do this? Because everything was designed for pregnant women. So there's a certain sense of letting go, and like that feeling of, oh, the teacher's got me, that she's not going to have me do a bunch of chaturanga and lay on my belly and handstand.
yeah,
Like there's none of that. And so there's a certain sense of safety in a prenatal yoga class. And then you're with other women, and it's this arena where you can kind of complain a little bit at the beginning of class, say how you're feeling. And I remember teaching prenatal once, and a woman was in labor. She didn't even know. She left and
Oh
had
my
her baby
God.
like an hour later. I know.
Please don't let that happen to me. Please
I
don't let that happen
know.
to me.
She was like, wow, I'm having some contractions. And I'm thinking, oh my God, is she going to have this baby in this class? And she
You're like
texted me the
pointing towards
next
the
day.
exit. You're like, the exits are over
Right.
here. Wow. So she was
Totally.
like a really dedicated yogi then.
Totally. I mean, it's just a really sweet time. It's community, it's tending to anxiety, it's strengthening your body. I mean, I just can't, it's honestly my number one recommendation about pregnancy is yoga. And just like you said, working with observing what's there physically, because it's just the beginning of worrying, being
Yeah.
pregnant
Right.
is just the tip of the iceberg.
Well, and you're right. It opens up that door. But if you can learn how to harness some of that early on, and notice that, you're getting worried that the baby's not breathing, and you're getting worried that the baby's walking. And, if you can start to harness that early on in your pregnancy and in motherhood, I only think that could help you. I wish I would have had that from the very beginning. I think that I'm a little jealous of like moms today, because I feel like you have so much more support in regards to
Totally.
things, that you can do for yourself. I know you were in a different era. And what's crazy is even though I have a 9-year-old, 9 years ago was different. Like I talk to my friends that are pregnant today and I'm like, what's that? What do you do with that?
I know.
And so it changes so much, but mindfulness, like we always talk about, stays the same. So if you can start incorporating that the very beginning, just like wanting to be a good parent, or, giving your baby their full attention, things like that, yoga fits in there, and it's going to make you a better mom, because you're going to, yoga taught me how to put myself first sometimes, and when I need to. And it taught me how to slow down, and it taught me how to notice things. All of those things you need going into motherhood.
Yeah, you really do. And I think part of what, especially the mindfulness piece, helps too is on that sort of topic of noticing, once the baby is born, it's like a new era. I mean, I don't even remember much about what my days were like before I was a parent. And there's a really sweet quality to that time before your life literally changes forever and before you change forever. And so I think there's a sense that yoga and mindfulness offers us of slowing down time a little bit And I know if you're having a physically or emotionally or hormonally really hard pregnancy, you just really want to not be pregnant anymore. And so I say this with a grain of salt because that's a real challenging thing to be feeling. But, if you can find the moments when you do have some relief, or if you're having a great pregnancy, if you have a partner or if you're alone, like just sitting with these times of before you officially become a parent is actually a really sweet window of time that once the baby's born, you'll never have a window like that again.
No, it is. And
So
you're so right. Like the window closes and then
yeah,
it's mom, and suddenly you're expected to just know everything. And you're
yeah,
like, what? I am just learning myself. So yeah, the time to reflect on the changes and changes in your body. And I know the body thing is really hard for a lot of people. It wasn't easy for me. As far as like, your butt getting big and your thighs getting big and you can't see your toes, and you start to get into your head about like the way you look and will my body ever come back? And I'll just say to you, if you're healthy and you're taking good care of your body, as far as you're moving your body and you're putting good things in your body, you're doing the best thing for your baby. And pregnancy is, to me, is very beautiful. I see pregnant women and I am the lady that has to like, don't rub their belly, don't rub their belly, because I just think it's so, so beautiful. But I also know how hard it can be. And so I hope that by listening today, you, number one, know that you're in a really cool club. And there are a lot of women out there that are in the same club as you are. And like Lauren said, finding a community like that would, even if you just sat on your mat and did nothing but talk, would help you a whole lot. It's really good therapy. And then also that yoga, meditation, breathing, those things are going to help you. And if you feel like you don't know where to start, I would say, I don't know what your recommendation would say. If I just were talking to anyone, I would say, if it were me, I would get on Google and I would look up private prenatal first to just see who teaches that. I feel like if you teach private prenatal, you're probably pretty dialed in on what you're doing. But if you'd prefer a studio class, that probably same person probably has a studio where you could go and take from too. But there's a couple of ways. So don't feel like if a studio is really intimidating, that's your only way. There are a lot of yoga teachers, myself and Lauren included, that teach privates. And it's a more intimate way to kind of help boost your confidence, help you feel okay. And then maybe you can go to a studio class where you have more of a community. So those would be my recommendations. And then lastly, I will say, what helped me the most was journaling. And today I look back in those journals, and I actually did a couple of days ago because I found them in a box. They're really great. And if you can just put down how you're feeling, good or bad, some of my entries were really bad. And I was like, whoa, negative Nancy, easy on the Tuesday with the, I hate this. But if you can journal that out, it gets it out. It's great. And then to go back and look at it is really, really special.
I love that. I love that. Such good pointers, such good tips.
Well, all right. Well, we thank you guys for being with us today. We hope that you have a great day. And if you are pregnant, we hope it is a good day today. If it's not, it's okay. Tomorrow's a new day. And if you're supporting a pregnant person, just know they are not their own, and to be nice to them. Thanks, guys. We hope you have a great day. Take care.
Thank you so much for listening to Mindful Talk. We don't take it lightly that you spent your time listening to our podcast, and we are forever grateful. If you'd like to support the podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a rating and a review. Welcome to a more mindful way of living and working.